Okay, so I am going to record this training tonight because I want to put it out there for everyone so that you can go back and watch it again if you want to. And remember, if you unmute and you talk, or if there is a little bit noise in the background, you will be put on the screen for recording, but y'all should see me since I'm the one talking. So you may want to mute yourself if you're not already muted. Okay, so we're talking about the law of attraction tonight. What in the world is the law of attraction? Well, you'll see things about it. There's movies about it out there, but my favorite thing that I've ever seen about the law of attraction is in John C. Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. This has basically kind of become the Bible of the leadership world if you are going through leadership training, if you want to elevate your leadership, because John Maxwell has written almost 100 books now, or maybe over 100 books now on the topic of leadership. And he has a wonderful podcast that is free on Amazon Prime. So if you have Amazon Prime, you can download the Amazon Prime Music app on your phone, and you can have that available for you and listen to his podcast. And I've been listening to his podcast here lately almost every day. I love listening to his podcast. They're a little long, so I'll listen to it while I do my makeup, and it may take me 2 or 3 days to get through a session. And the one that I'm listening to right now is on failure. And so, and how you turn those failures into successes. And John says, when it comes to failing, you're either, or it comes to success, you're either learning or you're growing. And so, those learning is when the failures come along. And for success, when you're really experiencing success, you can be growing as a person. You're succeeding or you're growing. That's how he puts failure. You're either succeeding or you're growing. And so I've been thinking a lot about this topic over the last couple of weeks. And I've had a lot of consultants come to me just feeling a little bit stuck, needing an idea, needing to move to the next thing. How do you move to the next thing? Well, if you're feeling stuck, sometimes it's really difficult. And so I'm going to talk about a few things that will help on your way to developing that law of attraction and getting things in motion if you are in a place where you feel stuck. So I'm going to read just a couple of little quotes here from chapter 9 of this book. It's called The Law of Magnetism. Who you are is who you attract. I'm going to say it again. Who you are is who you attract. And so I'm going to ask you a question. And if you've got a piece of paper in front of you, grab it. If not, go grab one real fast. Because John says, make a list of the qualities that you would like to see in the people on your team. For us, that would also include make a list of the qualities you would like to see in the people in your customer base and in your hostesses. Because there's 3 groups of people we're working with. We're working with our customer base, we're working with our hostesses, and we're working with our team as leaders. We're giving customer service to our customers. We're partnering with our hostesses to help them earn free products, and and that builds our business in turn. So we're paying them in free products, and then we partner with our team members to help them earn money or get their products at a bigger discount, or whatever it is that they are wanting out of their Mary Kay career, maybe earn a car. So I want you to make a list of the qualities you would like to see in the people you work with. And I'm not going to break right now to give you a lot of time to do that. This is something I want y'all to do later, but sit down and make the list of those qualities you want to see. And so John goes on to say, once you've got those qualities listed, put a check mark by the ones that you have yourself, because odds are you've already got all those qualities. The things that are on my list are action-oriented, servant-hearted, kind, self-starters. That's what I want. My acronym for that for me is asks, ASKS, because I believe how far you go in this business is based on how many asks you do per day, how many people you ask, because you can't decide, you can't, do anything unless you ask someone. And if you don't ask, you've made a decision for them. And one of my pet peeves is when people make a decision for me. I like to make decisions for myself. And so I remember that when I'm scared and I just pivot. And that's one of the things that helps me get unstuck. Because when I'm not asking, I'm making a decision for someone else that no, they're not ready. And it may just be that no, I don't have the confidence, or no, I'm not feeling it right now and I'm not making myself do it and I'm not leading myself well. So remember that what you get is not determined by what you want. This is a direct quote from page 90 in his book, if you have the hardback. It's determined by who you are. I'm going to say that again. What you get is not determined by what you want. It's determined by who you are. And that's, sometimes a tough thing to think about. And I cannot see if I think I forgot to pull up the other document I wanted to show tonight. I did. I'll post it. I'll put it in the group later. And so when you're talking about the law of attraction, the main thing you want to focus on, that we all want to focus on, is what we are doing, how we are being, what we are putting out there. Have you ever had a day that was just, you woke up and you were in a great mood and just everything went right and you just got blessing upon blessing upon blessing? Has anybody ever had that day? I've had days like that before. They feel great, don't they? Or have you ever had that day where you get up and you're not in a great mood, you don't feel good, and things just go wrong one after the other and it just kind of snowballs? We've all had both of those kinds of days. And a lot of that has to do with our attitude, and not just that, but how we react to the situations. We can't always determine what happens. We're not always in control of it. We are in control of our own actions and how we react to it. And so, here lately, I've honestly, I really believe in authenticity, and I've been struggling through some grief with my family. Everyone at this meeting knows that I lost my mother-in-law in January on the 2nd. And if you didn't, I just told you I lost her. And it was like losing my mom, because she's been in my life for so long. And there's no mother-in-law joke, for she was wonderful and I loved her and I'll miss her for the rest of my life. And anytime you're going through something, and we all go through stuff, that's part of life. When I'm going through things though, and I'm in a place where I don't want to get up and go because my get up and go got up and went, that's when I go back to the law of attraction and go to the drawing board and say, okay, I'm not feeling it right now. But I know Mary Kay always taught us there were 3 ways to lead. And I know I could ask and y'all would tell me what they are, because I say it all the time. But for the sake of the video, I'll say them. First one is by example. The second one is by example. And the third way is by example. And so you have to pick yourself up and go. And she did that. When her husband passed away, the next week was Mary Kay leadership. And nobody expected Mary Kay to be there. Nobody expected her to show up. You know what? She knew that some of them have worked very hard to go to an event where she would be in attendance, and she didn't want to let them down. And do you know, nobody expected her to be there. They all gave her grace, but she showed up. And that kind of leadership is sometimes what life requires of us. That when we're going through hard things, that we find a way to continue on, that we find a way to take that next step forward and focus on what we want, but remembering that we're not just going to get what we want, we're going to get what we are. So if we are trying, if we are doing our best, if we are showing up when it's hard, guess what? We're going to get more. I honestly think that blessings are expanded when we're working when it's hard, because anybody can work when it's easy. But when we show up when it's hard and we show up when it matters, that's when it counts. So, I was looking it up because I really believe that, there's a whole bunch of stuff out there. If you want to go look it up, there's a thing called mirror neurons. And it's a neuron that is activated in your brain when you look at someone. And it's whenever you've looked at someone and you knew something was wrong, but you didn't know quite what was wrong. Has that ever happened to you before? It probably has. And you said, is something going on? And they would just kind of tear up and said, yes, but I don't want to talk about it right now. It's mirror neurons. You're picking it up. It's a thing that happens in our brains that we can kind of sense that. And sometimes it's called the sixth sense, but it's an actual, measurable thing. And there's also a thing called vibrational frequency that's out there. I actually took it to AI and printed it off today so I could read to you what AI had to say about vibrational frequency. Vibrational frequency refers to the rate at which energy oscillates, with all matter, including human cells, vibrating at specific frequencies. And in science, this measures the oscillatory motion in hertz. While in spiritual context, higher frequencies are associated with positive emotions, love, joy, and lower frequencies are associated with fear, stress, or illness. And, there's a whole bunch of stuff in there about that. But there's a whole school of thought out there that believes that our energy, that we can kind of pick that up. I believe in prayer. I know it works. It is a frequency. When we are praying, it puts a frequency out there, and it kind of goes through the universe. And if you've ever done energy work, I've done energy work with several energy doctors, and I have a cousin that's a shaman and an energy doctor. And she told me once, if you ever need me to treat you, you don't have to be here. I can just, you can call me on the phone or text me, and I can treat you from wherever. If our energy frequencies are tuned on each other, it works. And I never really believed her until I started working with an energy doctor here and had some incredible results with healing in my body from that. And I don't know why it works or how it works. I just know that it works. And so I am now a believer. I believe in it. And I've always believed in the power of prayer. But, there is a thing where the vibrational frequency of us and our cells makes a difference too. And so this is the chart I had pulled up and I forgot to pull up. And it starts at the bottom where it's, if we're focused on shame or guilt or apathy or grief, we're in the suffering realm and we're vibrating at a really low frequency. Or if we're experiencing fear, it moves up to desire, and we're in struggle or anger or pride. You're comparing yourself to others maybe. And that's when you're in struggle and you're still vibrating at a lower frequency. But when you get to courage and you get to empowered, that's when it starts to change. And when we get to a place of positivity, that's when we start vibrating at that higher level, and that law of attraction starts working for us. And that's why Jesus says in the Bible, don't worry, because there's no point in worry. He is telling us to get to a place of neutrality and get to a place of turning that over to God. He said, nobody here in the whole universe can add a single second to their life by worrying. And so that's in the Bible, but this is what he's talking about. He's talking about getting yourself to a place where you've come through all these lower levels of frequency and you've gotten back up to a place where you're into love, joy, and peace and enlightenment. And so, I can only talk from my experience, but when I was really, really ill for a very long time, I was having a hard time staying positive. Because then, does anybody have a great attitude when they have the flu and you have the fever and you're 102 and you're miserable and you hurt everywhere? Nobody has a great attitude when you're not like that. It's really difficult. I had a fever for over a year and I was in pain for over a year. And the first year I was okay. We earned, we were doing good and I was doing my thing. But at the second year, I started to get draggy. And, we were still doing things. We were earning cars. We were doing great stuff. By the third year of having a fever and being down all the time, it started to affect me. And I got into kind of a dark place after I had some really bad treatments that were experimental out of Johns Hopkins that just took my energy and I couldn't stand up in the shower. And so I was in a really bad place. And I went to God and I said, and my husband was worried about me because I was trying so hard to stay positive, but I just wasn't succeeding, even though I was praying all the time. And I just prayed one day and God spoke to my heart and he talked to me about the sacrifice of praise and thanksgiving. And so I started looking into that in the Bible and looking up all of the verses in the Bible about the sacrifice of praise and thanksgiving. And it's in there. It's in there a lot. And I have found every single verse about it that I can. And I marked them in my Bible. They're right here. And if somebody needs those, I give that to them. And I haven't done a document for it, but I think I need to do one. But there's a ton of them in here. And the whole point of doing that, the sacrifice of praise and thanksgiving, thanking God when you're miserable. I started thanking God and looking for the positives because I was like, you know what did expand during that time was my prayer life because I had to stay in a dark room because my eyes hurt. I had a fever all the time. I was in pain all the time. But you know what I could do? I couldn't sleep. I was awake and I was bored. And so I would pray. I started praying in a new way. I started interceding for other people and I did prayer work and it, saved my sanity, but it also increased me as a person. And my attitude started to change because I started to do the sacrifice of praise and thanksgiving. So I went from anger, fear, grief, guilt, shame, pain, all the way up and got up here before I even stopped having a fever because my attitude changed, because I changed what I was doing. And I believe that made all the difference in the world about my recovery and finding things that did work and not giving up in the process and being back and being able to stand up today and say, you know what, I may be struggling, but I'm okay. And I will be okay. And I'm still able to get out there and do my work because I'm able to get myself up into a higher frequency and stay there. And so this is a long bit of training to talk to you guys about how important positive thinking is, how important what you think about and what you focus on is, how just vital it is to be in tune with not just what you want, but what you are. And if there is something going on that you want to change, realizing that you do have the power to change that. Nobody has the power to think your thoughts for you but you. Not yet. You're the only person who has the power to think your thoughts for you. You're the only one who can come in like a hero, dun, da, 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 and change your mind. You can do it. I believe that you can. I know that all of us go through things, but I do believe that anytime we are stuck, we are our best advocate to get ourselves out of it. And so what do? I always go to the sacrifice of praise and thanksgiving, praising God and thanking God for what I do have, thanking him for what he's bringing to me, for the newness that is happening, for the growth I am experiencing. And I go to that place of humility and ask him to show me what my next step is and to give me the idea that is going to help me to move forward from where I am right now. And if you're ever in a place where you're like, you know what, I just need a new idea, reach out to me, reach out to your director, get that new idea so that you can move forward from where you are right now. Because I believe absolutely that God will always answer that prayer and that there always is a next idea. There always is the next something that's going to help you have a $300 week and get a new team member or become a new qualified consultant or add another new team member to your team or get the next order. And it's all about when we change our mind, when we realize that what we are is what we attract. then we are going to be so much more on purpose about what we are allowing into our lives. And so this is my message for you guys today. I'm going to stop the recording so that I can open it up to the people who are in our live meeting for discussion. But thank you for watching the video.